Welcome back to Burnout Banter. Since it's July, we're diving into something that should be helping, but often isn't vacation. Have you ever said, I just need to make it to vacation, only to come back even more exhausted? Or found yourself checking emails poolside, promising you'd only take a quick look? You're definitely not alone. In this episode, we're going to explore why vacation isn't the magic fix we think it is, what it means when rest is the only escape from your job, and how to use your time off as a tool for actual recovery. And of course, we're looking at all this through the lens of the AEC industry, where deadlines, field work, and client demands make true disconnection especially hard. If you want to stop coming back from vacation more tired than when you left, stick around. Let's talk about what real recovery looks like and how to make time off actually work for you. Hi, everybody. My name's Jeff.
And I'm Rachelle.
And this is Burnout Banter. Before we jump in, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen, so you never miss an episode of the banter. So before we dive into how to make vacation actually work for you, let's take a step back real quick.
Okay.
What do you think we're really expecting from our time off?
I feel like I'm going to speak from personal experience, but also from what I see people posting on like LinkedIn. I feel like we expect our time off to be this magical reset period where we go in stressed and strung out, and then we come back feeling like refreshed and new and ready to take on the world. And that's a lot to ask from time.
Especially in a week.
Yeah, yeah, just a week or even like a long weekend. I love when people are like, I'm so excited, I've got 4 days off and I'm gonna be like a new person. I'm like, I don't know. I hope for you, but I need more than that.
Yeah, and if you've ever vacationed with kids, you know that that's a whole different ball of like a whole different game. There's not much rest going on.
I was just gonna say I have not, but I imagine that you are on parent job instead of like work job, so you're still just on and you
Yeah.
can't sit down.
Yeah. So I think for a lot of us, vacation becomes the finish line that we're all racing towards, right?
Right.
When's the next vacation? How can I get to the next vacation? I just got to survive till the next vacation. It's the only shot that we have to feel human again.
But
Even Angie will tell you if you ask her that Vacation Jeff will come out where I actually revert back to who I am. You give me enough time on vacation. And her and the kids have nicknamed it Vacation Jeff. So
oh my gosh, I
I'll,
love that.
yep.
Good vacation Jeff like? Is he like super,
A
because
lot
you're
of fun.
super chill and level.
Much
Always.
more funny, I think.
Ah,
Much
okay.
less stressed, much more funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Gonna have to talk to Angie about that.
Yeah. So, when we actually get to vacation, though, many of us don't actually take rest or time off, right? We're checking emails, which keeps us stressed. We're half available. And what happens is we come back more drained than before because vacation time was supposed to be the time where we recovered, and now we're not. So now even more hopelessness has shown up for us because it may be a while until the next vacation when we can be human again. So today we're going to unpack why that happens and how we can change it. Sound good?
That sounds great.
So, have you ever taken a vacation that was supposed to be relaxing, but somehow left you even more tired when you got back?
All of them. I'm really bad at vacations. I'm getting better, but I am historically very, very bad at them, especially from consulting. Being your own boss is not, everyone thinks like, oh, you run your own business, like you can just take whatever time off you want. But no, it just means that you've got like a bunch of client bosses who need you all the time. And so you're never off. And so it was really hard for me to enforce those boundaries. And so that half on, half off thing was almost more exhausting than just like getting through stuff because that guilt weighs on you and that like uncertainty of what you're coming back to weighs on you. And so it ruins the vacation vibe. It's so hard.
Yeah. Have you ever had a time where you felt truly recovered?
Yes, I have.
Don't sound convinced.
Well, I had to think about it. It's been a couple years, but I went to Costa Rica a few years ago and like literally just didn't have any connection to the outside world because, cell phone service and internet was super shoddy. So I could really only check things when I was back in my room, and I was almost never in my room except when I was so tired from the day that I would like literally just passed out. So I didn't even have time to check my phone or anything. And I think it's the first vacation I went on where I didn't bring my computer since I started consulting. And
Good.
I came back from that feeling wonderful.
Were you more excited to get back to work, or were you still having trepidation around that?
I think it was neutral, as with all things proposals. I'm sure I had a looming deadline when I came back that I was not excited about, but I felt a little bit more equipped to take on things. Like I just wasn't quite so trapped in that spiral of everything weighing on me. So it felt more equipped to take it on, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I had one that felt really relaxing where I had kind of worked to build up my whole staff. And I see this like 2 week vacation as the culmination of the success of that building of the staff because I was able to leave not going into it with much stress, knowing that my staff could handle it. And then they handled everything that came up. There was no need to even involve me. And when I came back, I had nothing to do
Oh my gosh,
from being gone. So
that's
everything,
a dream.
yeah. So I think it's, I had to trust my staff to handle things. Like that was, if I didn't allow that to happen, then I wouldn't have had that rest and recovery. But
Wait, I mean, you had to work up to it, but it
yeah,
was there. The infrastructure was there. That's incredible. Can you teach us how you did that? Because I
just
don't think it's very common in the
the good
industry.
people around you and trust them to do their jobs.
Fair. You make it sound so easy.
I mean, it's not that easy, but if you look for it, I think it can be. So why do you think there's this myth of a reset button for vacation? Like, why have we gotten to the point where we think a week away is going to reverse all our stress?
Would I be super cynical if I said it was like a marketing campaign? Because I
It might not be. I mean, you're a marketer. If
I am
there's,
a marketer.
I would think you would recognize it.
We're at fault for everything. But I feel like and maybe it's not a specific marketing campaign, but I feel like culturally, at least especially in the US, we have build vacation as this like the magic reset button, right? Like life is so hard, but if you just escape for a week, everything's gonna be just fine. And then you can come back and go straight back into your like insanity of work, your 60, 80 hour a week, whatever. And like you were saying, like you just wait until the next one and then you reset again. But like we're not machines. We're not computers. You can't just like hard reset us over a week and then like we're fine. So I think maybe
Elon's chip that he's going to put in our head, maybe we can figure that out.
yeah, maybe when we're like a little bit bionic. But I think that's where that myth comes from. Like we've been sold this idea from like vacation companies and airlines and, like how many of the sandals or the Bahamas Club or whatever those are, like those commercials that you see, they're like, you just need to escape and everything will be okay. And I think we just have internalized that over a long period of time. And that's where the myth came from.
Yeah, I do think, if you go somewhere like that, escape is possible for a week, but it doesn't really fix anything. Like you can turn off your problems for a week and kind of forget about them if you allow yourself to by not checking into work. But the problems you left with are still going to be there when you get back.
Exactly. I think there's a difference between like escaping and truly like rest and recovering. Those
Yeah.
those are different things to me. I can almost get like more rest out of a really well-planned weekend than I can out of a week of escapism somewhere.
Yeah, I also think we've gotten to this point where a lot of people don't like their jobs,
What?
call it for what it is. And so that vacation becomes that only way to get away from your job. Whereas I think if people, and I think this is dumb too, right? Like love your job, right? Like your passion, whatever. I don't know that that fully
I think
exists.
that's another lie that's been sold to us. Like,
But if you actually do like what you're doing, a vacation becomes a chance for you to rest and recover so that you come back reinvigorated to do this thing that you enjoy doing anyways, right? So it's not an escape from something you hate. It's a, I need a break to re-energize myself.
I think that's a super important distinction that I hadn't thought about. But yeah, if you just go through every day absolutely hating your life, no amount of time away from that is going to make it better when you come back.
Yeah. I guess unless you take infinity time away from it, but
I mean, we could do that. It's a thing in France, right?
yeah. So if somebody's saying, right, like I just need to get through this week, I just need to get through this month, I just need to get through whatever to get to vacation, to me that's showing that they're just in survival mode, right? Which is high stress, high burnout.
As everybody I know, unfortunately,
You're just trying to like plow through the day to day and you're not having any rest or recovery at all that's helping you stay level.
right?
So you're looking for vacation to provide that instead of trying to design a life that has rest and recovery and downtime built into it.
For sure. But that's just hitting the pause button on survival mode. And I
Yeah.
would argue that if you're in survival mode, you're not really going to enjoy that time away anyway.
Yeah. And if somebody's burned out,
About
I
how
think,
miserable you are when you return.
yeah, and you're right, exhaustion is a key component of burnout. So if I'm really burned out and I take a week off, I'm so exhausted that all I'm doing on that week off is, again, right, trying to recover, trying to re-energize and survive my exhaustion instead of actually enjoying whatever it is that I've chosen to do.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I took a beach vacation last year and I was like, this is great. I get to like play in the sand and the ocean and all this good stuff. And what did I do? I just like fell asleep on a beach chair for 3 days, which not complaining. That was wonderful. But that was all the energy I had. It's just like I was just passed out because I was so tired. It was so hard.
You were going into it totally burned out, right?
Oh, I was fried. Totally, totally fried.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we spend the whole week, trying to recover from the exhaustion. So then by the time the week's over, we really didn't get to enjoy our time off and we're right back at it. So,
Do you ever feel like you need a vacation from your vacation when you get back?
oh, absolutely. Especially if it's an intense one,
Yeah.
packed with a lot of things to do.
Just worse when you're going into it with that low energy and you want to push through because you're doing cool stuff. And then you get to the end or you get home and you're like, I cannot handle going to work tomorrow. I just can't do it.
Yeah. So why do you think there's this part of it where we're going into vacation totally burned out and in survival mode? And then there's this other part of it where we feel like we need to work, which also doesn't let us rest and recover on vacation. So why do you think we do that?
Man, that's a big question. I feel like there's a lot of reasons for that. On the proposal, like the marketing side, I think because we have teams, but the work that we do is often so siloed that like I am the only one responsible for this proposal that I'm working on. Yes, someone could maybe step in and take over, like in theory, but I'm the one who's leading it, so I have all of the knowledge about it. So my fear stepping away from it for a week, even if I prep everything beforehand, is going to be that like things are going to go off the rails or we're going to fall behind if I'm not like ankle biting at our technical staff or like coordinating with the subs or whoever it is. Like a week is a long time in proposals to lose momentum. And so I feel like if I just check in a little bit and I think keep things going. And then it's really easy to just, I checked in on that one thing. I'll just do this one thing. And then, it snowballs into I'm working on vacation.
And your stress is staying elevated because of what you're trying to get done.
Exactly.
I'm going to try to ask this question without laughing. Have you ever had somebody you were working with on a marketing team quit?
I love that you did make it through that without laughing. Yes. Guess who had to pick up their slack?
So but it was possible for you to pick up for them when they weren't there anymore.
Yeah, but they just weren't there,
Wow.
right? It's different than
But it's still possible to do it.
it is still possible. It was awful. It was terrible doing a person and a half's job.
Well, I think that's a big part of it, right? Is the guilt that comes with like, I'm on vacation, but these other people are working hard to cover for me. And I
And
feel however, right, like we all want when we go on vacation, we want other people to cover for us. So like the idea of covering for somebody when they're on vacation to me isn't that big of a deal because I want the same thing to happen for me when I go on vacation. So I think as long as we all look at it that way, it's a little easier to stomach and maybe the guilt isn't there.
I would love to be able to shut off the guilt like that. I think it's still going to be there, but I think we could shift that. But I also think that we could just do better planning wise. Like nobody, the firms already are terrible at like go, no go and resource staffing for proposals. I'm sure you've got similar issues on the technical side of things. But it would be nice if when we're making those go, no go decisions, we said, oh, it looks like we're going to have two marketers out for this period of time. This was already a low chance win, so maybe we just kick it out. And then we can take that stress off of everybody. That would be beautiful, amazing, great.
Well, the other thing I try to do is work in teams. So even like within my own discipline, I wanted to have two or three people involved in the project, and maybe one person's doing a lot of the heavy lifting, but the other people know what's going on. So
Right.
that when that person does step away for a week off or 2 weeks off or whatever, right, like their project doesn't just sit on hold for
Right.
the other two people can continue to carry it forward, cover meetings, do whatever. So I think the way we staff projects has a big impact on this too, because I have worked a lot of places where it's like, you get this project, you get this project, you get this project, and then you go away, there's nobody who knows anything that's going on, and your project's not moving while you're out. So I think it's really easy in that instance to fall back into trying to keep it going.
That's exactly how proposals work. It's so hard because you're assigned to this one and somebody else is assigned to this one and somebody else is assigned to that one and you don't really get transparency into what anybody's doing, and it almost feels redundant to have someone like two people working on at least the average proposal. Like the big ones, yeah, you get full teams and stuff. But what I started doing as a consultant is I would, if I knew I was going to be out or there was the potential for me to be out, I would bring in a sub and just like shadow them on the proposal. So I copy them on all of the emails and the drafts. So even if they weren't like actively working in it, they had all of the contacts and like they could see the draft coming together. They could see the comments. So like it wasn't me trying to scramble the day before I'm going to be out of the office with this horrendously long email that's like, here's everything that's been done and here's everything that's been discussed. Like they could see the progress happening as it was going. And to your point, yeah, I don't see why we can't do that. It's not like they're actively working and doubling up on the work, but they are seeing what is happening and can take over a little bit easier.
Yeah, and even if it's somebody in like a director position or a manager position that's overseeing it really and can step in and cover things, I think we get to a point where we have enough experience that it's pretty easy to jump into any project and figure out most of what's going on. So
Right. Right. This is another reason I have pretty strict like proposal management plans. So if I have to jump in now that I'm a little bit removed from things, I can just look at this 3-page document and be like, okay, I know what the parameters are for things. I know the discussions that have happened. I know what our strategic positioning is, and I'm off to the races and can jump in.
yeah, and I think what that helps you do is it helps you avoid the massive ramp up that we all have towards vacation, right? Where it's like, I got to get all this stuff done. I got to get all this stuff done. And we exhaust ourselves leading up to it. And then on the tail end of it, it's like, oh, well, none of this happened. So now I got to jump in and get all this stuff done. Whereas if it progresses and people are aware of what's going on while you're leading up to vacation, on vacation and return, then things are going to go much smoother and you don't have that like peak and dip and
Right.
then again.
Well, it's almost like we create more work for ourselves in that ramp up,
Yeah.
right? Like I have to document what I was doing, or I have to detail this, or I have to coordinate with this person, I have to tell this person this, and it's you could spend your entire week doing just the coordination part and not the actual work part.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's what most of us do. That's
Yeah, probably.
why we all work at night. So I do think there's fear, right? Fear of falling behind, fear of looking not committed, irresponsible. So our fear drives us into behavior that's not the best for us. We have that guilt that we mentioned. And then I think the third thing that really impacts our ability to disconnect is our other people. respecting us being on vacation, whether that be a boss or a client or whoever, sending us emails while we're out. I remember one time I had a one-on-one with both of my bosses, so the president and the COO essentially. And I have one-on-ones with them both every week. And they decided while I was off to make a joint one-on-one instead, which having done this long enough, whenever two people want to meet with you at once, it's usually, your mind goes to the expectation of I'm about to get fired. And then it's like, well, what did I do? I don't think I did anything. So then on vacation, right? I'm like, well, what are we going to talk about? I want to be prepared, trying to fish and see what I can figure out. And it
Oh,
ended up being nothing, but it still messed with my ability to disconnect and not get stressed out on vacation. Now, part of that was my own issue, but it could have been avoided by not doing that while I was out too.
that's that's fair. It's so hard though. I feel we've talked about this in past episodes where we have this like because we're such a connected society now and it's so easy to be connected. It's not like, oh, I'll just delete Teams or email off of my phone anymore. There's like five other ways people can get a hold of you. That just desire, not desire, but that it's like you're a compulsion to be available and to check and to connect is really, really hard to turn off.
Yeah, and I think another thing we need to consider is as leaders, if I'm on vacation and sending emails, even if I tell my staff, don't do this, they're not going to listen to me. They're going to look at my action and they're going to do the exact same thing that I did because I'm the one who's setting the example of this is what's expected.
Right.
So it's really important for us to step away so that other people feel like they can too.
I agree. I'm unlocked a memory of a few years ago now over like the December holidays. I think it was New Year's Eve. I got an email from a potential new client and I obviously didn't answer it because I take 2 weeks off at Christmas and New Year's and I do try very much to completely unplug to spend time with family. So I got to it the following week and I had had like three or four more emails from this person. I'm like, hey, we want to work with you. We have a hot RFP. Let's do it. Hey, haven't heard from you. And it was like all day Chris or New Year's Eve, one on New Year's Day, and then like one the following like Friday or something, which would technically have been a work day. So I responded the following Monday and was like, hey, saw your emails. We're still good on time, blah, blah, blah. But then I made a LinkedIn post because that's what I do about respecting communication boundaries and how we need to be responsible like in our communication patterns. And while we can't control how people react to them, we can control things like delay send or, I'm emailing this on a Saturday. Please don't feel obligated. Like people have a million different hacks for this. But I made a post about it because I was really irritated because they came at me hot and we've never worked together before about how I was not communicative and that's not what they expect from their consultants. We obviously did not work together. But they saw that and they sent me an apology afterwards saying that if that was aimed at them, and I mean, it kind of was, but kind of wasn't. It was just a general, like, I see this behavior happening. It's probably happening elsewhere. They sent an apology because they didn't realize because they weren't observing the holiday. I don't know who doesn't observe. I mean, it's not like you have to celebrate it, but like, it's a day off.
But
But
you probably had like out of office email replies on too, right?
I sure did. Sure did. And I do the shameful ones where I that was at the time when I was really snarky and I had I'm spending the holidays with my 90-year-old grandmother and if you would like to explain to her why it's so important that I step away from the meal that she made, you are welcome to do that. It was so snarky, man. So yeah,
Oh,
it's not that. They knew I was out of office and when I would be returning. But it was just nice that I got an apology. Did they change their behaviors? Not even a little bit. But it was an interesting, like they just hadn't considered that. So to your point about, we need to pay attention to both how we receive and how we output communication. Like it's very important and I think we just don't always realize it anymore.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. So, with all this being said, how do we make vacation work for us? The
Ooh.
How do we plan, take time off, and return from time off in a way that actually supports our recovery and doesn't just provide relief?
I feel like we have hinted at a lot of these things, right? Like paying attention to workload and resourcing, right? And like being transparent with your team about what's going on and when and schedules and like how they're going to be or could be pulled in if you're going to leave, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I want to break it down into like, what do we do before we go on vacation? What do we do while we're on vacation? And what do we do after we come
Perfect.
back from vacation to avoid
Okay.
whiplash?
What do we do before?
So I think auditing our workload, like look at what you have to do, what's on your list, what can I actually get done, and what is really not that important to get done before I go. I'm sure all of us have things that on our to-do list that have like carried over for months and probably aren't that important, but they cause stress.
My AI calendar manager has words about the number of tasks that I've put on my calendar that I have not gotten to in the last 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, and so we want to try to be realistic as to what we can actually do so we avoid that like pre-vacation sprint that
Right?
burns. You talked about communicating clearly, setting some boundaries, what we're going to do, that we're not going to be available, who's going to cover for us, things like that.
I think that extends to clients too, quite honestly. Like we talk about communicating with your team, but I think you can let your clients know, like we're humans. We take vacation, they take vacation. Just heads up, I'm not going to be here. You are in this person's hands for the next 5, 10 days, whatever it is. And like set that expectation to kind of prevent maybe some of that manager client, like the external stakeholder or the higher up stakeholder causing chaos.
Yeah. I also think having an autoresponder that means something. I love your example. I don't think it's too snarky. I love it. But it could be something like, I'm currently away and recharging so I can return rested and ready to support you fully. I'll respond after blah, blah, blah. Thanks for your patience while I practice what we preach, or, something like that, right? That really is intentional about why you're taking time off.
That's fantastic. I
Yeah.
am so for more specific out of office messages or snarky ones. I think we can have fun with them while also like setting a boundary with them and not just they've become so perfunctory, I think.
Yeah. I think the key thing in that one, though, is I'll respond after this date,
Right.
right? So that people know I have an employee who just had sinus surgery and her out of office says out of office due to sinus surgery. Well, that's great, right? And I know to leave her alone, but nobody who gets that message is going to know, like, when's she back? Is this like a month she's out? Or, so I think that date, right, of how when you're going to be back, when you're going to respond is good. I always like to say, if you have something that you need immediately, here's who you can go to get help, and they'll
Right.
delegate to whoever needs to help you. So that's the last thing you can really do, is be intentional about delegating, who's going to cover for you in regards to different types of things, right? So,
Right.
and just make sure that that's really clear before you go and everybody's bought into covering for you so that they can take a vacation later and have you cover for them.
1000%. I have reached out to a backup person who did not know that they were a backup person.
Yeah.
Please tell your backup person that they're
You gotta
covering
let
for
people
you.
know that they're covering for you. That's really important.
Yes.
So, any ideas about what we can do during vacation to help us disconnect?
I mean, I mentioned how difficult it is to just like take Teams and email off of your phone, but I think it's a good idea. Or
Yeah.
like, iPhones, I'm sure Androids have this too, but like have the crazy awesome controls that you can put on now for like work notifications versus do not disturb versus like just use that and silence all of those apps with one tap in one go. I lock them down.
Yeah, because the notifications pull you right back. So you gotta
So
make sure you don't see them.
yeah. And then, it's a little bit on you if you're not going to uninstall them to make sure you don't go looking, but you can at least get rid of the notifications.
Yeah, even scheduling stuff like ahead of time, if you're doing social media posts or whatever, schedule it out ahead of
Mhm.
time so that it's ready to go. So you don't have to think about it. So you can leave your laptop at home, like you said.
I pause now my LinkedIn because I like to engage with the people who are commenting on my posts. I don't really like one-way conversations. I don't want to like post and have people have a conversation. I want to engage. So I now don't. I pause the schedule that I have so that I can engage when I come back. And that has also been really nice. So another option. Is it absolutely necessary?
Yeah, I love this one. So shift your identity while you're away. So this goes back to my example of vacation, Jeff. So can I actually shift my personality into that and leave engineer and coach Jeff behind at
I
home?
love that. Yes.
So just, thinking of yourself as a person,
Yeah.
what fills you up outside of work that you're
Right.
getting to experience while you're off? And then try to find some things that are going to restore you. So if you're, binge watching TV or sleeping or whatever for 3 days straight, that may not be the most restorative activity. So trying to find something that does energize you, reading, hiking, journaling, whatever your hobbies are that you really enjoy doing.
There was a stack of beach reads next to my chair when I crashed on that beach vacation. I had good intentions.
I bet there was a lot of osmosis happening from the book.
Absolutely. I soaked them all in.
Yeah. So those are some things you can practice while you're on vacation. The other thing I would say is if you're really not used to this, you kind of got to work up to it. So if you've never taken a 2 week vacation without working, to think that you're just going to be able to knock that out is pretty unlikely.
Yeah.
So start smaller, right? Do a 4 day weekend, totally disconnect, see how that goes. Then maybe it's a week, and you can build your way up to that instead of trying to take a 2 week vacation and failing at it, because that's just going to lead you right back down the path that it's not possible.
Right. I agree with that. It does take a while to unprogram the always on, always connected
Yeah.
needs of ourselves.
So when we come back, we want to avoid the stress spike of that as well. I like this idea of blocking out time for a soft landing. So
I
I'll
love
even do this when I'm in like a training or something, right? Like give yourself a day on the backside of it to just kind of be and not
it.
jump right back into meetings or tasks or whatever.
I can do that post-conference,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Like,
yeah,
but build in a day, especially if it's at the beginning of the week. I have to build in a day after at least a day, if not two, to just like digest and decompress and I don't see why, yeah, we couldn't do that after vacations as well. Just ease back into things.
it's really important that we not apologize for being gone.
Oh, it's so
It's
hard.
much better to be grateful to the people who covered for you and made that possible instead of apologizing for how terrible it must have been while you were gone or whatnot.
I mean, I'm sure it was. We're all fantastic, and it was probably awful on our poor counterparts, but just kidding. Just kidding. They did fine. You did fine. Everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah, and then look at what worked and what didn't work, right? And take that and tweak that for the next time you want to take vacation.
Absolutely.
And slow integration. We all want our inbox to be cleared out, but maybe we start with priority tasks instead of trying to get the whole inbox cleared out, or you know, don't ramp up to 100% right away. So this idea of a slow reintegration is really important.
Right. This is a great opportunity to, if you were doing a million things at once before you left, to try the like, I will always love Jen McGovern's. I can only do what fits on a sticky note. There you go. Make a sticky note. Get through that. That's good enough. Ben and I at Pi have if we do 2.5 things a day, we are very, very happy with the progress that we have made.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So I think, it's good to practice all these things on vacation, but then I also want to touch on how important it is to build rest and recovery into your daily habits, because it will help you enjoy vacation a lot more and not just use it as a time to try to recover your energy. How do you generate unplugged hours where you're going for a walk, or, taking a day off, or, stepping away from work for just one day or something like that? Trying to normalize rest for your team.
yes,
So
please.
do it, they do it, everybody feels good. So, we want to talk about energy management instead of just, did you get that done? Did you get this done? Did you get that done?
Right.
And then model what we want to, or if we model good behavior, our team will follow us and we'll all be a little better off.
I love it. I love it. I'm a 60% human today.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, vacation's not a cure for burnout if your day to day is totally out of alignment. Escaping from something you hate isn't the same as resting.
What?
Vacation can become a powerful recharge tool if you handle it the best way. And our leaders need to model good behavior for us.
I feel like we should just say that last one on repeat for a little bit. Maybe that's a whole episode. Uh, leaders, please.
But even if your leader's not, as an individual, right? If we model good behavior, maybe it influences somebody who works for us or somebody else.
Yeah,
So it's still important, even if your leader's not modeling good behavior, to,
to model it yourself.
yeah.
Agree.
Anything else about vacation?
No, I think that was good. I hope that people who are still taking their last vacations before like school gets started or taking vacations to the end of the year listen to this and are able to actually fully enjoy them.
Fall
Well,
break will be here before we know it.
there we go. I would love to hear about your vacation successes. Please
Yeah.
email us.
All right, you ready for a burning question?
I'm ready.
And now it's time for burning questions.
So this question comes from a senior PM who's been in the industry for a little over 10 years and currently works at a mid-sized architecture firm with about 75 people.
Okay.
Tough size. I know I need to unplug more, but every time I try, I end up checking emails or feeling guilty for stepping away. I'm not even sure what's driving that. How do you actually disconnect when it feels like everything still depends on you? What's the biggest barrier that keeps people from fully unplugging?
I feel like we get this same question just in different like forms or skins or masks all the time. It's so, so hard. Do you have thoughts? I know you have thoughts.
I always have
You
thoughts.
always have thoughts. Would you like to share your thoughts first?
Well, I think the big thing is to try to figure out when we're thinking about unplugging, our fear response is kicking in, like we talked about already, right? Where people are going to think I'm lazy, people are going to think whatever. It's important to try to figure out what that thought is that you're having about yourself or think other people are going to think about you. And then know that that's not true.
Right.
Right. So let's say it is, they're going to think I'm lazy if I don't do this. I bet I could come up with a million reasons why this person is not lazy.
Right.
And
Uh-huh.
so you just have to recognize that we're having that thought, that the fear is trying to push us in that direction, and then remind ourselves who we really are instead. And from that place of who we really are instead, then we can decide, right, do I actually want to do this or do I want to step away? But it's
Agreed.
almost impossible if fear is ahead and telling you this thing that you don't want to be. It's the worst thing you could be thought of, right?
Right.
And so you're going to do everything to prove that that's not true, which is not healthy for us. It's not good for us. And it's why this person cannot unplug.
Agreed. 1000% agree with that, that there's some deeper rooted fears that are driving this. I would say on the practical side, because I struggle with this, what I had to do was what you were talking about earlier, Jeff, in that incremental building up to it, because I went through a period of time where I was working nights and weekends and I was on all the time. And even if I was like schedule sending stuff to go out like Monday morning, I was still working on it on Saturday, which fine for everyone externally receiving, terrible for me who was doing. And so what I had to do was just like start with an hour of notifications off or leaving my phone in a different room or shutting the door on my office and not opening it. And it was very small periods of time. And they slowly started to grow where it was like, okay, now I can do all of Saturday and I'll check on Sunday. And now I can do all of Saturday and Sunday and Friday night. Like it took a while to build up to that, but giving yourself those little permissions helps you build that confidence and combat that fear because nothing bad does happen. No one actually perceives you as lazy. No one actually perceives you as not pulling your weight or whatever it is. And you just need those little tiny proof points to start building up to combat that.
Well, and let's say something bad did happen. Now you have data that
Yeah.
you can use, right? So if I do unplug and don't respond to something and I get in terrible trouble with my boss, like, is that really where I want to work, or should I be looking for somewhere new that I want to work? Or, so I think it allows you to see what's going to happen too. And, we can't guarantee that nothing bad's going to happen, but
You say this all the time, Jeff, that we are not responsible for how other people react to us.
no. And most of the time, right, they're probably just jealous because they are not unplugged and are wondering why you are, and are mad at themselves more than they're mad at you.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You just need to take a chill.
And I think the other thing you can ask yourself, right, is when this happens, right? So if I do unplug, I think this is going to happen, right? So follow that path a little bit. Think of all these bad things that are going to happen and then ask yourself, right, is that true that those things are going to happen, or am I making it up? Because most often we're making it up. Like, we don't know what's going to happen, like you said, but we think we do. And so that's what causes us to put the boundary aside and keep going anyways.
Right.
Do you think we answered their question?
I think so.
I think between the episode itself and the burning question commentary, hopefully got answered.
I think, yeah. And if not, you know where to find us.
You sure do. So, a friendly reminder to our listeners, if you have a burning question, you can email it to us at burnoutbanter@gmail.com. And please remember to like or subscribe to the podcast on Amazon, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen. Make sure you never miss an episode. And finally, if your organization is struggling with burnout, stress management, Rachelle and I offer in-house coaching and workshops and things of that nature to help your staff get back on track. It would probably shock you if you figured out how much money you're losing to your staff being stressed out and burned out.
The statistics are alarming.
Yeah. So again, reach out to us at that email or on LinkedIn, and we can come up with some personal support to help your team. All right, everybody. We'll see you next month.
See you next month. Happy vacationing.
Be vacationing.